Greeks are known to be late. I mean, it's just our national trademark, so I'm sure there will be more people coming in a little bit, but I want to grab as much time as I have with our guests. And just a quick note, can people just turn their cell phones off, please? Another quick note, the closing night film, Sayomi, is going to be here on Sunday night, tomorrow night, not at the Egyptian. There was a little misprint on the program, so please note that. And I want to thank, more importantly, Dean and Marianne Metropolis for sponsoring this panel. Pabst Blue Ribbon Beer, thank you so much for your support. Yeah, okay, so let me introduce these wonderful 4 people who are donating their Saturday morning to come and educate us and give us knowledge and help artists. So thank you so much. First, we have Kevin Iwashina. Did I say that right? He is a managing partner at Preferred Content. Prior to that, he spent 10 years at CAA, where he specialized in film packaging, financing, and distribution. He was involved in Zach Braff's Garden State, Paul Haggis' award-winning film Crash, the great documentaries The Cove and Men on Wire, my 2 personal favors, and arranged financing for Richard Kelly's Donnie Darko. So that's a little bit about Kevin. Then we have Mike Asola, who's having his breakfast. You know there'll be breakfast served afterwards. No, it's okay. I'm teasing you. He has been a literary agent for the last 5 years at William Morris Endeavor. He started up at the mailroom and then worked his way up to being an agent. He represents an eclectic mix of writers like Justin Sackham, who wrote The Bucket List with Nicholson and Morgan Freeman, Mama's Boy with Diane Keaton, writers from the show.
I sent a new bio that's completely old. Anyway,
really?
Yeah.
More importantly, recently, he was an important person in putting the package together of the Parlapanidis brothers, the Immortals that we all know, that was out this year and grossed over 100 million in the box office. We had Charlie and Flass last year in our panel, and being fellow Greeks who actually have made such a wonderful, huge movie was a real pleasure. And so, Mike, and he'll update us on what he's doing now. Then we have Steve Mahler, who is a talent agent at Innovative Artists. He represents talent like Golden Globe winner Ving Rhames, Peter Fonda, Gabrielle Anwar, and also artists, and also assists filmmakers with financing. He is from Virginia, and he used to own, which I find more interesting, 3 restaurants before he decided to come out to Hollywood and become an agent. So, welcome. And last but not least, we have Mrs. Alexia Meloci, who's also, more importantly, on our advisory board and a big supporter of the festival. So thank you for that. Alexia has had over 20 years of experience in the international marketplace as a distribution film agent and as a literary agent and manager. She is the founder of Little Studio Films, manages and represents directors, writers, other producers, novelists, and directors like Vito Palumbo and Robert DeFeo. It specializes in foreign talent and domestic, but also foreign. She's half Greek and half Italian. So that's a little personal information about them, and also what they do. So I'm going to ask the question everybody wants to know, and I'm just going to ask as many as I can, and then I'll let the audience maybe take some questions. But this is for everybody, and you can just take turns and kind of give your opinion. How do I get an agent or a manager?
Look, that's always the question. I think the answer I always give everybody when they ask me that question is, look, at the end of the day, you need a job. That's what you need more than an agent or a manager. And focus on getting work, focus on the craft. Agents and managers will come. You'll be found. Or, it sounds like a non-answer, but I think there's this obsession, with all due respect to everyone on the panel, that agents and managers control the business. And we're facilitators. We help make introductions, we help clients get jobs. But at the end of the day, it's the talent. That's what's going to rise. And that's what I really just encourage everybody to focus on. And consequentially, all that other stuff will happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's really not on.
Hello?
I think it's really important to figure out a way to separate yourself with your talent, whether you're a writer, director, whatever it is. I think in these days with the way YouTube, Hulu and everything has kind of changed the business, it's just figuring out how to be different and unique and get recognized. Because you're right, people will be like, oh my God, I just need a Morris or whatever in my court, and then it's all over. It's really not. So you really have to, figure out a way to be special and to get noticed. And there's a lot of ways to do that now. That I think is the most important thing over being obsessed with, finding those.
I have to say something about that. I know, being a manager, that a lot of filmmakers and writers, they cannot get to people unless they have representation. I mean, we do know they're not going to pick up the phone and just cold call a studio and say, hi, I'm a director, or I'm a writer. Most of the time they'll hang up the phone on you. If you do have representation, and it means that someone believes in you. So I agree with what the guys are saying, but I kind of disagree as well, because you want to have a team that believes in you and sees your talent. At the same side, though, do not expect your agents and managers to just whip up the magic wand and just open all the doors and everybody's going to be hiring you. Ultimately, it is about talent. But of course, it does serve, I think, to have some kind of representation for the purpose of team building, and knowing that, you can say, well, someone believes in me, so you're not like the only one who's trying to sell your vision. So I kind of agree and disagree with the guys here a little bit.
Okay, next question. What I wanted to bring up, which is something that Kevin and I talked on the phone that I thought was brilliant and really important, because we have so many filmmakers, but it doesn't just apply to European filmmakers, it applies to also anyone. Having to decide between being an artist filmmaker or a filmmaker who makes commercial films that sell. Do you want to kind of elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's less of a decision. It's just, what's the purity of what you want to do? What excites you as an artist? Do you like big movies like Immortals? Or, do you like to, are you from a particular foreign land and, like to tell stories about, your culture in that language? So I think it's really just more about purity of how you want to express yourself creatively, but just also understanding the consequences of what that means. If I want to write big Hollywood movies, then that's a certain kind of career that I'm going to have that can be very financially rewarding. If I want to pursue something a little more artistic, there's going to be a lot of other challenges and obstacles in front of one who wants to pursue that. But as long as you're motivated properly, it's really kind of irrelevant. If we're doing this for the money, then I would argue, from the creative standpoint, it's the wrong reason. Because it's about purity of creativity and art and commerce, and like a lot of your clients, they love what they do, right? They love writing big movies, or they love being in popular television shows, and that's how they express their art, and that's fantastic. And there is a financial consequence to that, which is great upside. Right. You also represent clients who want to do nothing other than a scale plus 10 job, or write a $500,000 film and hope it gets made, and that's great too. And I think it's again, just following that purity of creativity that drives you and motivates you, I think is key.
Great, thank you.
I think it has to do with knowing your audience and knowing your marketplace. As I said to what you said, it's like, who's your audience? Who's going to go see your movie? And then once you decide who you want to communicate your artistic message to, then again, it's true. It's about the passion, and don't do it just for the money, because believe me, sometimes it's a long journey to get there. So you got to know your marketplace as well.
Right, because just as a filmmaker, you want to make sure that your art is seen by as many people as possible. Therefore, if that happens, then there is a business aspect, right, to that. And isn't an agent like a salesman? or somebody who hired us.
That's talking too much. Mike?
Can you hear me? So, movies are a unique intersection of art and commerce. So, for us to answer that question, we could spend hours, you know. But what everyone said so far is accurate. Yeah. So that's no one's going to figure that out, you know, in a matter of minutes. But that's that's what it is. That's what the movie business is. So the key is, I think, I'm going to be redundant. Okay, find something you love. What's your favorite movies? When you grew up, what do you like to go to theaters to watch right now? Figure out who you are. Figure out your voice. Figure out all that crap, right? And then figure out a way that makes sense how to show it now. I mean, the movie business is changing a lot. I mean, it's crazy. You look at, you know, different things that are working as opposed to even 5 years ago. And you can just, you know, go online. I mean, there's never a better time to be out there and now in Hollywood because you can, everything's at your fingertips, as everyone always says. So, I don't know, I hope that answers that.
Yeah, no, thank you. So Steve, that kind of maybe leads into what you and I were talking about the web and how independent filmmakers can actually not just sit around and wait for someone else to knock on their door, but they can take an active role in self-distributing and making their own films.
I personally find it fascinating when we have some digital guys will come in and talk about all the new sites and the new ways people are being discovered. You know, someone showed me a site the other day called IndieFlix. Obviously, it's a little bit, you know, I mean, obviously Netflix, as we know, is very commercial. IndieFlix is kind of like the site for young filmmakers who want to get into Sundance. They have shorts. They have very smart ideas, but they might not have money. I was looking around that site with some of our other people, brilliant stuff on there. And they do these contests to get into festivals. And they're all decided by, you know, the public. I mean, there's no middlemen, there's no Hollywood distribution mechanisms, and there's no, you know, favoritism. It's just you're voting on the shorts that you love. And if I was on the filmmaking side, that site is awesome. So I just think educating yourselves on what works these days. IndieWire is another good one. You know, obviously, you know, you should be reading, you know, Nikki Fink on a religious basis. It's incredible how much information she gets. It's like she must have somebody sleeping with every partner in Hollywood or something. But I just, like you're saying, and like very good point, it's like these days it's just so different. You know, there's just so many avenues where you can kind of hit it at. You know, like there's another site that we're going to turn on called Hello Giggles. And we took the comic off of that site and did something with Zoe Deschanel. I think she's involved with Hello Giggles or something.
She's one of the starters.
Yeah. So you see all this brilliant stuff on these sites that are coming out every few months. So I think it's just really smart to be educated about those avenues.
I think, I don't know if it's true, maybe you guys can tell me because you're like at the agencies, but is it true that there are people working in those agencies, like the top 5 or 6, that their job is like literally to like look at YouTube every day and see who has the most hits and discover, you know, the emerging filmmaker based on the amount of hits that they have on their stuff on YouTube?
I really know we have that, and I obviously think
Answer your questions, everyone.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, but that definitely is there, out there now, no question.
Great, and I think one of the success stories that you talked about was Dan Adut. By the way, he's not Greek, he's Persian.
No, he's close. He's close. No, but this guy's just, like we're talking about, he just uses the web, kind of like Dane Cook did originally, as a comic, you know, the YouTube's a funnier guy, it's just everything this guy possibly, you can imagine, he uses it. And it's kind of led him to get on Leno. He's on Leno every couple of weeks. And now he's on a new series called Friend Me. And this guy, no acting experience, beyond not attractive. Don't come and say that. But he just used the web to market himself in a way for us to really, you know, have some nice success at a very early age. So.
Look at Andy Samberg. I mean, I'm really thinking of him because he retired from SNL yesterday. It was one short film, and it was 12 years in SNL. No, was it 12 years in SNL?
Pretty close.
Or something like that?
Yeah.
How many millions of dollars that guy made? That run in SNL? Besides all the ancillary stuff, like some movies and stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Just for one short film.
Yeah.
And it's like House of the Books or whatever the hell it's called.
SNL is Saturday Night Live to just for our Greek filmmakers, if I might get it. So, Kevin, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the foreign filmmakers. I mean, I know that when you were at CAA, you had a lot of time and you were part of the international department. What does the international department in big agencies like that do? Do they go to and scout for international directors, or?
Well, most large agencies, there's so much going on that there's the ability for people to specialize. So one of the areas that I was focused on was ensuring that we had coverage on the international marketplace, filmmakers coming out of France or Italy or Greece or the UK English language was a little bit different. That was kind of covered by everybody. But yes, of course, and looking who's out there who could cross over. Our job wasn't to get into foreign countries that were non-English language speaking and create content there as much as it was, are there foreign filmmakers who could cross over and want to work in the United States. And there's been a lot of great success stories. I personally was involved with Gabriele Lucchino, for example. Saw his first or second Italian movie and brought him over to the United States, and he's now making Hollywood type films with movie stars. So that was that's a classic example of how that's supposed to work. It doesn't always work. I think that, unfortunately, the United States is really the only country in the world, from a filmmaking perspective, that doesn't have any government support. It's treated purely as commerce here. It's not within the context of art in the way that, even Canada or, the EU will treat this type of, will treat cinema. So there is a different perspective, and there's a different cultural perspective and relationship between an artist and a movie, primarily coming out of, Europe or, other foreign countries. So there is a drastic attitude shift that sometimes filmmakers need to make in transitioning over, and I'm sure, Mike in particular has been involved with some, that, okay, great, he's made this fantastic movie in Russian, and he speaks English, and let's get him over here, but you know what, he doesn't understand the system, he's out of context, and they end up failing, going back and never wanting to work in the American system, because you really have to be prepared to engage. So I think our system here, our business here is much different. Having had the luxury of having been an agent, so I understand the rhythms and how it works, and I think when I work with Mike or Steve or any agency, there's an efficiency there, because I know how to communicate with them. Interestingly enough, it's amazing how many people in the business don't know how to communicate with agents in terms of what's efficient to say, what's efficient to focus on. Here's a script, tell me what director should do this. Like, you don't want to hear that. Or have a script that's not financed, who's available. There's a different way to do that and work with agents, which I think is the key for any filmmaker. But I think, going back to your original question, the point being that there is a unique system and culture here, which one really has to accept and adjust to if they want to find success.